Hello, my name is Allison Jones Hunt, and I am an abstract painter based in Albuquerque, New Mexico. My current show, The Season of Singing Has Come, is now on display at Surface Gallery, and I am so honored to be a part of the show, the incredible trio of shows this month that Valerie has put together. I met Valerie about 2 years ago at the opening of the Sluice, and when I walked in, I said to my husband that moment, I want to have a show here. And I hounded her a bit until she relented to have somebody from outside of Colorado be able to be in a show. So she's taken a chance on me to be able to show some of my work that I've painted here in New Mexico. My paintings are very colorful, and this series is really a deep dive into that love of color. This collection is based on the Song of Songs from the Bible, also known as the Song of Solomon, Shir HaShirim in Hebrew. And I was so inspired by the relational ways that people read this book of the Bible. The Song of Songs is often read as an allegory between God and man, between romantic lovers. It's an incredible source of sensual imagery in the Bible, nature imagery in the Bible. But when I thought about doing a collection based on the Song of Songs, I was most interested in the contrast of the masculine and feminine as represented in color. And so my process for this series was taking warm and cool tones and alternating them back and forth in layers, like the poem in the Song of Songs alternates between the voice of the masculine and feminine lover. And so I got to sit with each painting in this collection, and I got to explore how the warm and cool tones in my layered process provided depth that really couldn't be captured in one palette alone. So my color palette that I developed for this series really is a story. It's a love story. It's a love story of color. And I got to play with this color palette through a couple of different themes. I have what I call my big fruit paintings. Here's an example behind me that really dove into the nature imagery and the harvest imagery of the Song of Songs. There are grapevines and pomegranates and apricots and figs. And so there are a few fruit-based paintings, kind of trippy still lives. And there are landscape-inspired pieces. There's a lot of imagery about hills and mountains in the Song of Songs. And I've always been drawn to abstract landscapes and the incredible inspiration of the Sandia Mountains right outside my studio windows. There are also purely abstract pieces that are more about that sensual experience of color. And throughout this time, I've been working on this series for over 2 years. Really since I had that first walk into the Sluice, I just knew somehow that this show would be made for this space. And we had our opening on the 5th, and I could not be more grateful for the reception that the Colorado Springs Art World gave to me that night and since. And through the process of painting these paintings in this collection over the last 2 years, I really had a deep dive into my own journey with masculinity and femininity. The interest that I was pouring into the canvas and reading these texts and different translations of the Song of Songs. It's been a very interesting kind of parallel process of identity and my own feelings of femininity, my own diving into that relationship and that tension in my marriage, in my friendships, in being a daughter and being a sister. And that's been really fascinating that, you know, when we can dive into any text, but maybe especially biblical texts, it can't help but bleed into the rest of your life, whether that's into an art practice or into the way that I relate with my entire set of relationships. And so for me, painting is such a relational act. I am a painting teacher. I teach color theory at the New Mexico Art League and at the Corrales Art Center here in New Mexico. And painting it live at events like weddings, or painting in class settings, or painting, in civic events or fundraiser events. There's something very relational about painting to me, not just in the relationships of colors and forms, but also just in the people around me. And so whatever it is that I'm working on in the studio always pours out into the rest of my life. And so this process of being with this beautiful poetry and these very sensual colors has changed me. I'm a different person now than I was 2 years ago. I think you could probably say that the same thing about most of us, but it has been such a gift to spend time with this text, and especially having, a Jewish perspective on this text. Historically, allegorically, it has been represented in the Orthodox Jewish world as an allegory between God and man, and the love of God to Israel and the people of Israel. And, it's also a passionate love story. It's a sexual love story. And I love that tension. There's something about that tension that is just very appealing to me. It's a little bit, I guess, pushing the edge of what religious texts can be and how we can get inspired by them. I think that it is such an incredible thing that the Bible has preserved a love poem, a sex poem, a relational story like this for millennia. I get inspired by that constantly. And so being able to have something about that infuse my work is very special. I hope you enjoy exploring The Season of Singing Has Come. This collection means a lot to me, and it is really, really an honor to be a visiting guest in the Colorado Springs art world this month, and I hope to see you in the gallery soon.